Hi everyone, Michelle here from the Creative Cove, and thanks for joining me today on my channel. I wanted to pop on and show you how to make these really pretty little sun catchers. They are using beads and a steel line, like a steel wire, and some crimps, and I wanted to show you how to do that. I just drilled some holes into my birch branch from my tree. So you just drill a hole right through. And I will show you how to make these long chains of different beads, assorted beads, and how to attach them. And then you hang it in your window, you hang it on your wall, you can do whatever you want with it. And it's a really fun way to use up a collection of beads that you're not sure what to use for, or you have broken jewelry and you want to recycle all the good pieces off it. So this is a really fun little project. So I'm just going to move this aside for now. And I'm going to show you the supplies you're going to need. So you're going to need some wire, and this I believe is 3 or 4 millimeter. You can buy it at most jewelry stores, Michael's, things like that. And it's just a thin wire, flexible. You're going to need these little guys here are called crimps, and they're the tiny, tiny little round cylinders. And that is what's going to put the bead where we want it. And I get a big baggie like this for $5. So they last, you can make several sun catchers with this. So they last quite a while. And then of course, an assortment of beads. I just use a little plastic lid here for some beads. So some of them are new, some of them are, old necklaces that I cut up. Some are from my macrame, all kinds of different assorted little, whatever you've got. And I like to work with different materials. So I work with wood, I'll work with some crystal, some resin, some wood again. What else have we got? We got stone. So I like the mixture of the elements within the sun catcher, because even though you're trying to capture the sun can reflect and absorb off different surfaces and different materials. So it's not just about having reflective material, it's about having warm material that also absorbs light in a different way. So I like to mix it up myself. But again, you can just use whatever you can get your hands on. All right. So, and you're going to need crimping tools. So these I got at Michael's as well, and they have these funky little teeth here, and I'll show you how we're going to use those. And they're basically to crimp these little guys around the wire. And then again, that holds your bead in its place. So once you know how to use these, I mean, you can make necklaces, everything. So those are the tools you will need to get started. So I'm going to pull a wire about 1 meter long, and I'm just going to cut it. So scissors, pliers, whatever you got for that. I guess you need that tool as well. And I'm going to start by crimping the end. So I'm going to thread a little. Let's see if I can pull you a little bit closer. Hopefully we're in center here. So I just thread a little bead, a little crimp on the end. I'm going to slide my crimp over, and I'm going to squeeze it in between those little teeth. And what that does is it crimps it onto the wire. So now I'm going to pull on it, make sure it's secure, which it is. And I'm going to go to the other end of my wire now, and I'm going to thread some beads. So the only thing you need to pay attention to when you're beading these is the hole size. So because I'm using some wood, some of the holes are really big. So the crimp will go right through that hole. So what I like to do is add a smaller bead in front of it so that the crimp can't get through. And all I do is just randomly thread beads on. I don't even do a pattern because these hang. We're going to make, the sun catcher I have has 5 strands. So there's really no need to concentrate on a pattern. All I want to do is thread some beads and then remember to put one of my crimps in between. And then I'm going to thread a couple more. Just have fun using up different beads that I have. These little caps, bead caps that I have. I'm trying to not cast some shadow here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And you're just going to thread and keep threading. And we'll build one together here. Hopefully. I'm wearing my glasses. That helps a lot. I didn't want to wear glasses, but now I wear them. And now I can see much better. I was in denial. Here we go. So now I'll put another crimp on. And again, it's just random. I'm not overly concerned with the pattern. I just want to have fun threading on some different beads. So within the 5 strands that hang off this sun catcher, you want to stay within the same color palette or color texture. And really that's the only thing you have to concern yourself with. You don't want to use too many different things on each strand because then it looks busy and there's no harmony to it. So in this case, I'm using browns, oranges, neutrals, and clear beads like this. Just, and that's my color palette. So when you're picking out your beads, because maybe you want to buy new beads for this project, then that's something to consider. So because fall's approaching, I wanted to use some really nice warm colors. I really like natural wood as well. Things like these macrame beads are one of my favorite things to use. I just love the warmth that they have. So I'm going to do this last little one here, and then I'll show you how to crimp them and why we put the crimps in between. All right. Put one little bead on. Okay, so now I'm going to hold the end of my wire here and I'm going to pull all my beads through. So I have a row here. So you can do a full strand, but I like to break the line up. One, it uses a little less material, but still has a really pretty look. So you don't have to use 1,000 beads. So what I do is I make sure my thread is up tight to the end here, and then I'm going to crimp at the bottom of the next bead. I'm just going to push on and make sure it's crimped, and then I'm going to move to the next section. So I kind of let it drape off my finger so that gravity pulls it down to that crimp. I hope that makes sense. And then I slide the next crimp up, and I can just space. I can do this one a little bit closer. So, and again, it's very random. I don't worry about making the space in between the beads perfect, because it's not going to show up later anyways. It won't matter. As long as you're using all the same textiles and beads on each strand and sticking within a limited color palette range, it will all be uniform. So now you can see it will hang like this and all the beads drop to the bottom and you have all the spacing in between. So I just keep threading. Just keep remembering to put one of these crimps in between. And I like to also not only to use different size texture beads, I also like to use different sizes. So every now and then I'll put on a big guy, just again to add more texture and more interest. So I have these huge big resin type bead, and I'm just going to thread him on. And then I'll go back to some more simplified ones, remembering to put my crimp in. Make sure you thread your crimp. And this is a really pretty stone one I have here. So again, more elements. And I'll add another stone with it, maybe, something like this. Using the woods and the metals, you can go bling. You can go a rainbow, for example. So you could do a strand of yellow, a strand of orange, strand of red. So there's really like no limit to what you can do on these sun catchers. They're really fun to make. And the birch, you know, the birch is free. It's right off your tree, or maybe a branch fell down. And I like the rustic look of that birch. It adds just another warm element of wood. And this is an old piece of a necklace that I have kicking around. Another seashell. So lots of different materials, but again, remaining in that color palette. And then another crimp. And I think we should put one of these really fun big wood beads on. So to do that, I have to make sure I put something in between this hole and this crimp, because this won't be big enough to hold this bead up. So I just have to put another bead in between. And see, I'm not even paying attention, just grabbing whatever's in front of me and trying not to create a pattern. I find the results much nicer when there's no pattern. All right, do another couple here. This is a fun one. Pretty funky looking bead. All right, and I'll show you how to crimp again. So I wanted to make a full line with you to show you how to put it all together. So I push it all the way down. I'll hold the other end of my wire, and now I'm just gonna pull it away and let the gravity tell me how much space is gonna be in between these crimps. Push the next set down and slide this up, and maybe I'll put this guy nice and close. And then I'll put this guy a little further away, and I just crimp. I just squeeze that little plastic. Now you want to, I use wire because I tried this before with like what's that stuff called, like a fishing line almost, kind of jewelry making stuff, and I find that if I squeeze this too hard, it cuts right through the plastic line. So I moved to steel instead, which is much more durable. And these beads get pretty heavy, especially if you're using like heavy resin beads. So there it is so far. So I'll do just a couple more, and it should be long enough for me to add to my birch bark, my birch branch. So I hope you're all having a good summer. I guess it's starting to wind down to the fall, which is why I got inspired by these colors. It was really, really warm here where I am in Ontario. Crazy warm, actually. My air conditioning's been on for weeks, which I usually don't like, but you just want to sleep at night. It's so hot. You can't take it. All right, maybe one more row, one more little cluster, and we should be good to attach. I'll put a silver one on there, and let's do a seashell. A sucker for seashells. Okay, let's try it. See if we got it long enough now. So I'm going to repeat the process again and just find my next crimp to crimp, squeeze, and this gets faster as you do more. So the first couple of crimps might get a little frustrating, but it moves faster as you get practicing. So yeah, it's long enough. So I'm just going to move this out the way and make sure I am in frame for you guys. Might back out just a little bit. And I'm going to slide my other lines here. And now I'm going to show you how to attach it. So to attach it, I am going to put 2 crimps on because I want the strength of 2 crimps to hold this row. So my first one and another one. And then I choose a bead. So I like to choose something strong like a stone or a, mostly stone or a really strong metal bead or something like that. Just so that I want to use these orange ones actually. The strength to hold it, because if you use like a cheapy plastic bead, the bead can crack and then your line falls off, and we don't want that. So where'd my line go? Here it is. So I have my, oh, I just lost my crimps. All right, let's do that again. So I put my 2 crimps on, and then my strong bead. So this one's a glass, like a stone bead. So I'm going to thread that on, and then make sure I'm in view here. I'm going to thread it through the hole. So I drilled a hole through the birch. I'm going to thread that through, up the other side. I'm going to thread another bead on, and then I'm going to thread that back through the hole, back down. Pull this nice and tight. So I pull the line up, and you can see it shrinks in, and my bead's down here. So now I'm going to put a crimp on those, I'm just going to crimp these to hold these in place. And then I'm going to tug on it. So make sure you tug so you can see there. Oh, that's why I screwed up. That would be why. See? Easy to screw up, but easy to fix. So what I did there was I forgot to thread the steel back through the beads and the crimp. So there was nothing holding them. So let's do that again. So I'm just going to put my 2 crimps back on. One and 2. And my bead. And we'll try it again. So I'm going to thread it through and thread it through the bead, back through the wood, pull it up like this to where we want it. And this time, remember to thread through the bead and the crimps. That's an important step. So we're going to pull that wire right through. So now it goes up through here, around a new bead, and back through this bead and those crimps, and then we can pull it tight. Now we can crimp, and then it should be secured. And we just want to make sure. So we're going to tug on it, and it's tight, and then we're going to cut, because once you cut, it's the wire's done. Make sure you cut the right wire. Been there, done that, where I've cut the wrong one. So there's our row. So now we want to do a hanger. So you can simply just tie a string to go around like this. Depending on the hanger, you can hang it on 2 little nails here, so you need no hanger. But I wanted to show you quick how to do a wire hanger. So I'm going to use another piece of wire, and it's about 2 feet long. And all I'm going to do is thread it through this hole. So this can be a little tricky because you do them pretty tight, these ones, but it should thread through. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put, say, another bead on. Make sure it's a strong bead. And I'm going to do 2 crimps. And I'm going to just take that to the end, and I'm going to crimp it. So nice and close to the end and crimp. Oops, too close. Lost one. So it's nice that these are cheap because they are small and they tend to bounce off and get lost quite easily. But they're so handy. They really work nice. And then double check that, make sure that it's nice and tight. Pull that wire through, and then we're going to go thread it on this end. So we're going to thread through that hole again on the opposite side. Try and get it through there. Make a little space. Trying to keep casting a shadow with my hand off my light. And then you can determine how long you want to make your hanger. So I think about there's good. So I'm going to put another bead on. And 2 more crimps. There we go. And I'm going to hopefully be in camera shot here. Push them up against where we want, the length we want, and crimp. Make sure, again, give it a tug, make sure it's secure, and cut the excess off. And that's it. We have our sun catcher complete. So I'm just gonna move it over here. I don't have a hanger. I wasn't that prepared, and I'm just gonna see if I can swing the camera around so that you can see how it will hang on the wall. It's such a primitive YouTube setup. One day I'll have a nice setup. And there you go. So if you put it in the window, it's going to catch all the lights, going to reflect off all the different materials you used. And you're going to just use whatever you have. So you can see how pretty they are. They make really beautiful presents. And again, you can do any design you want, any color you want, any feel you want. It's a really nice, fun afternoon project. So I hope it gave you some ideas. If you like my channel, please subscribe. to it and hit the like button, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.